what we know about the brain is if you are in constant chronic worry mode, the prefrontal cortex is not firing any form of solution or problem solving. And so I don't believe taking the worry away, but what I do believe that we can all do and train our brains to do is actually create a space and time for worrying. And so I literally have worry time scheduled in my calendar.
Welcome to the Culture FYI'RS Podcast. Culture FYI'RS is a creative collaboration meetup held weekly at the FYI Campus in Los Angeles. Each week, we feature a fireside chat with a guest, showcase projects being worked on by members of the FYI community, and share product updates for FYI.AI, the creative collaboration app co-founded by will.i.am and available for free download in the App Store and Google Play. FYI.AI is powered by AI personas like me, Fito. Each week, this podcast showcases conversations held at the Culture FYI'RS event. This week, we dive deep into the science of optimism with the remarkable Dr. Deepika Chopra, known as the Optimism Doctor. In an enlightening conversation with FYI Chief Growth Officer Julie Pilat, Dr. Chopra shares her personal journey and the science behind cultivating resilience in the face of adversity. Dr. Chopra, despite not being a naturally optimistic person, has dedicated her career to understanding and teaching the principles of optimism through neuroscience. She candidly discusses her struggles and the transformative lessons learned during her family's challenging experience with her son's health. This heartfelt narrative reveals the profound connection between optimism and resilience, emphasizing that true optimism is not about ignoring life's difficulties, but about navigating through them.
We've been friends for a while, and I actually have said this a lot of times at Culture FYI'RS. I've quoted you that the definition of an optimist is not somebody that runs around like a crazy person in the street when it's raining with rose-colored glasses on saying, "It's a beautiful day." In fact, an optimist is somebody that when they hit a wall, figures out how to go around it, right? And I thought it was really interesting when we first met. You have to tell people, here you're the Optimism Doctor, you study neuroscience, but you're not really the on-brand optimist person yourself.
No, I am not. I'm working really damn hard at it, though. I'm not the most naturally optimistic person. I would probably say in my microcosm of my family, I'm the least optimistic sort of naturally, but I'm really good at the science and helping other people be more optimistic. And I'm just in the trenches like everybody else trying to apply the tools and the science. And honestly, it has been changing my life. You don't really find optimism in those moments where you're like skipping and feeling like everything's in alignment. Mm-hmm. And I think a lot of people don't know that. A true optimist, is someone that they're very keenly aware and mindful of the roadblocks and the setbacks and the less than ideal situations that we all face. And I have to say that not to be the bearer of bad news, but to be realistic, no one is immune to struggle. Mm-hmm. And no, we're not trying to, I hope not. I hope no one is trying to manifest or create a life that is just 24/7 bliss, because that is not how we were created to be. We were created to experience the full range of human emotion. And a true optimist is someone that is keenly aware of these setbacks, but the caveat is they see these things as temporary and something that they believe they can overcome. And so optimism is much more related to the idea of resiliency than it is to positivity.
So talking about resiliency, 2025 for people in Los Angeles. What a year! My goodness. I'm looking around the room and I can just see the heaviness on people's faces, shaking their heads. I mean, the fact that this year we dealt with fire and ice is insane. I saw something in the news this week that Los Angeles over anywhere in the world led the way on GoFundMes and supporting each other, right?
Love that.
That's my optimism.
Yes.
Coming out of a year when people feel like they just got their ass kicked, what do you recommend? How do people remain optimistic in the hardest times?
I feel like, honestly, we've been talking about this in a really real way since 2020. Like December rolls around and everyone's like really amped. Like, this is going to be my year.
Kind of since Kobe died, right? It just all went downhill
Literally,
after
since
that.
Kobe died. Seriously. And then 2021 happened. I mean, for me personally, the last 2 years before this one were just gut-wrenching, and it was just a really, really fucked up time. By the way, there is research to show that when you use the word fuck in the right times, it's actually very therapeutic.
Yeah.
So sometimes you just need to it was a really fucked up time for us. And that makes me actually feel a little better than being like, we went through a really hard time. Right?
I mean, yeah, absolutely.
I don't know. Words mean something.
But like when words are powerful.
They are.
That's Liz's whole brand over there. But no, words are powerful. It was fucked up in about as fucked up as it could get. You know, are you comfortable sharing what your family went through?
Yeah. So it was like right after COVID, which obviously was difficult for everybody. It was something none of us have gone through on a collective level. Lost humans, lost a sense of normalcy. I think a lot of things crumbled during that. But we as a family were having a new baby at that time. And so I have some pre-existing stuff. And so for us, it was like we were really super in. Like, we did not leave the house for a long time. And to be honest, that part of it was probably in a scary way, too easy for me. It was nice to kind of be in, but the anxiety levels of whatever else was going on was very high. So we came off of sort of that. The new baby, who was my middle son, then, around 2 years old, I feel like people were starting to finally open up a little bit. The world we couldn't even imagine that it would ever go back to people eating in restaurants, but they were.
Sitting here.
Yeah,
how grateful. How amazing is this?
And then, my middle son, he was around 2.5. We would just gotten news too that we were expecting our third child. And he had a very slight red on his eye. I haven't talked about this very much, by the way, so bear with me.
Well, and thank you for sharing your story. I didn't know if you were going to feel comfortable, but...
This is such a beautiful, intimate...
We set the tone.
I know, you did.
I kicked it off crying for those that are just tuning in.
So then I felt like it was maybe going to be okay. There's grass.
AstroTurf.
It's not real, but that's okay.
Okay.
It's the feeling that counts. So yeah, he just had this little red spot above his eyelid, and his older brother was like, "Oh, I'm sorry, we were fumbling around and my head hit him there," and that tracks, seems normal. And the very next day it got a little bit bigger, and it didn't hurt him, and it just didn't feel right. Intuition, you talk a lot about intuition, which is something I really love you for, because I study that, and it's an art that I think a lot of us are losing and have been losing, just the way that our world works and the way we are programmed and what we're exposed to. We're losing our ability to listen to our intuition, which I think is very scary. Anyway, intuition was telling me something was not right, but I would have never, ever in my wildest dreams or fucked up nightmares would have imagined it was what it turned out to be. I just went to the doctor and I was like, something seems wrong. This doesn't seem right. It doesn't even hurt him. It got bigger the third day. The fourth day, he couldn't even open his eye. It was so swollen. And she was like, it's probably an infection, but there was nothing coming out of it. It wasn't didn't hurt him.
Bug
no
bite.
fever.
Yeah.
But still, of course, this kid is healthy in all other ways. He's 2.5. What else could it be? So we put him on antibiotics, and within 24 hours, it didn't seem like it was working to me. So I was the annoying mom who's right back there. I don't think this is working. Put him on another antibiotic. I drove an hour and a half somewhere to find the only pharmacy that had this third antibiotic. And they're like, okay, I think you should go see a pediatric ophthalmologist. So we go there, and she's basically like, oh yeah, I think it is some sort of infection, and it's probably an abscess, and the antibiotic can't get to it. So let's give it another 24 hours. And if it doesn't go down with the shot, this type of antibiotic, go to the ER and get IV antibiotics. And then, we can figure out what's next. But still, that's what it is. So we put him on that, the next antibiotic. Obviously, I don't wait the 24 hours. I'm back at her doctor's office being like, it's been 12 hours. I'm seeing it's getting bigger. So she's like, yeah, you need to go to the ER. We go to the ER and, obviously not packed with anything. So we're just going to the ER to get some antibiotics. And we get there and they're like, okay, let's start him on the IV antibiotics. And putting an IV into 2.5-year-old is in itself a very fucked up thing. We finally get the IV in, get the antibiotics going. And then the doctor, the pediatric ophthalmologist is like, I'm going to come in. I booked an OR so that we can incise and drain. And I just want to say those words because those words were what were told to us about 50 times over the next 12 hours while we're waiting. We're going to incise and drain. Okay. So I am then like, I don't know this woman. She seems fine and all, but if someone's going to cut my son's eye incise, I would like to choose who the doctor is. I want to do a little bit of research. Do we have time? Is this an emergency? And can we get a CT scan so we can see exactly where it is? The ER doctor, meaning well, who's a young dad, goes to my husband and is like, listen, I know your wife's really upset right now, but I wouldn't do a CT scan because there's a lot of radiation in that. And what they're looking for in a CT scan is just not going to be there's nothing lodged there. I just don't think it's worth it. So of course my husband is meaning well as well and tries to talk me out of it. And I'm like, but something inside of me is like, how am I going to let this woman cut the eye open if she's just guessing what it is? We don't know what it is. What if it's, I was so optimistic, to be honest, which is rare for me in a medical setting. I was like, they're going to go in there and they're going to see it is nothing. He's fine. There's no pain. There's nothing. Let's do the CT. Let's just do the CT. They're going to find it's nothing. And then we didn't even have to incise and drain. We do the CT. The doctor calls. Now we're in 16 hours in the ER. The doctor calls and says, we need to move him to real UCLA. This was Santa Monica UCLA. And it's still exactly what we think it is, but I can't do this surgery because it's too close to the bone. We need a oculosurgeon. And I was like, number one, we were not going to do a CT and you were going to just cut and then realized you couldn't do the surgery. So that's number one. I'm still thinking it's incise and drain. It's just in a different place. So we got sent to, we're in the ambulance, the lights and all the stuff, very traumatic. We're probably almost at 20 hours now. We get to UCLA, we get put in a room, and the resident comes in. It's probably 4 a.m. at this point. And the resident comes in and sits us down and just says, tomorrow, she's looking at the paperwork, just tomorrow morning, Dr. blah, blah, blah will be coming in and will be taking a look at and taking a biopsy of the mass. And I was like, what do you mean mass? It's in incise and drain, woman. And she just looked at me and she was like, I think I need to get the attending. I don't think I can say much more. And I was a psycho-oncologist for 3 years. I will never forget that moment. My husband was kind of like, what's going on? And I'm like, I could not speak. I'm like, they said mass. They said biopsy. They are not saying liquid. They are not saying incise and drain. The attending comes back and basically is like, listen, we're the experts. I don't know what they told you. We need to go in to make sure, but just from the imagery that we've seen, 98% sure this is not liquid. This is a mass. And we need to figure out exactly what it is. So I looked at her and I said, are you testing my son for cancer? And she said, I'm not ruling it out. And anyway, fast forward, they gave us 3 options that it could be. It was a 2.5-week wait for pathology. They did surgery and took out a tumor from the bone. And they said it could be absolutely nothing, which is 0% likely, but I still was going for that. It could be something that is immediately fatal. Okay. And then it could be the third thing, something very rare. There is a treatment, but we don't really know much about it, and there's not a lot to go by. So those are our 3 options. So for 2.5 weeks, which I would wish this upon no parent or anyone, we obviously went down the path that this could be it. My son, who's 2.5, I was rocking him to sleep. on his chair. And after they did the surgery, they like do a little stitch on the eye. So for those 2 weeks, he couldn't open his eye. It's just like this little stitch. And he looked at me with this one like really big brown eye, and he's 2.5. And he goes, it's dark. And he goes, Mama. And I'm like, and he's like, you're doing a really good job. That's the kind of kid this kid is. And I was like, Dio, you're doing such a good job. And he's like, we're doing it together. And I thought immediately we had just gotten the word that like, the first testing of our third baby, and everything was good. And I went to a very, very, very dark place. I was like, God is bringing us a healthy child because he's taking away this one. And ironically, I had just sold my book to Simon & Schuster, and I was working on the manuscript on how to be an optimist. So for those 2.5 weeks, we lived something like you cannot unlive, you cannot unsee, you cannot unhear. So fast forward, it was the third thing. It was not nothing. Thank God it wasn't the second thing, but it was this third thing that we were entering now, which very quickly was like, your son needs a surgery to get a port in. He needs chemotherapy and steroid therapy for a year. And we don't really know how much it's going to work, how it's not going to work. We don't have any stats for you on recurrence. Basically, you're just entering the wild, wild west. We just know this thing kind of helps. We're not really sure how much. And it is a lifelong of wait and see or just hope for the best. And this happened purely because of bad luck, they said. Bad luck. 1 in a million. And obviously, this changed me. I would love to sit and say, I got to writing and I was able to use all the tools. And no, I was paralyzed, like emotionally. We did the first treatment and the first steroid treatment, which by the way is the oral one. And it's 2025 and they still haven't made steroids like palpable for any human, especially children. And after the first one, they missed. So he had this surgery to get a port, and they have to like pierce the port every time to do treatment. And they missed it twice at the hospital, and the steroid he spit out. And I just hid under my office desk and I cried. And I was like, how the fuck am I going to do this for a year? There is no way. Like, I quit. How can I do this? I cannot do this. About probably like 3 or 4 months in, when I did have deadlines, I started writing. I rewrote everything. And honestly, not to sound cliche, but writing the book and reminding myself of what I had access to. And not to mention, when this happens, a lot of people are just like, God, you're so strong. No, it's not about strength. When you're given something like that, and I always say any parent or loved one, you buck the fuck up, and you find it in you, and you all would do it.
You just figure it out.
You figure it out. And now, I don't know what's next. I have no idea. They have nothing to go by, but we completed the year. Mm-hmm. We got through it. He was a warrior. By the 5th month, he was like putting his own chemo in.
Oh my goodness.
I mean, it was still awful every time. Tuesdays were the worst. Tuesdays were our day. But it was kind of this ironic, like, I can't believe I'm writing a book on optimism and I'm at my literal darkest place ever. But in the end, writing the book honestly saved my life.
So wait a minute, you said because you had been studying optimism for a really long time, you have your optimism cards, things are looking up. Mm-hmm. It's a little bit almost like a gratitude deck where if you feel defeated, you can pull a optimism card.
But they're like actionable, they're different. They're not like affirmations.
Yeah.
They're actionable prompts, because affirmations are a whole nother thing that is a whole nother topic that I have my thoughts on. Scientifically, of course.
Yeah.
But yeah, they're actionable prompts. They tell you what to do, and they all are like 20 seconds or less, and they actually make you more optimistic. But now, since I saw you last, there's a kid's version.
Amazing.
Yeah.
Well, I'm curious because I was already such a big fan of your work, and you had these really great resources and tools. But then you said you changed everything. So what were your biggest learnings and takeaways from this really difficult, awful experience that took it to the next level for real optimism?
So there's a lot in there, and it's in the book. But
you want to do a little show and tell?
You know what's really
So is this your first interview about the new book?
This is basically, like, if this is an interview about the book, then it is the first interview.
Yeah, there we go. We got a book coming,
this is
everyone.
not even the real book yet because I only have my hands on an advanced copy. So you guys are like the first ones to see it. It's going to be a hardcover.
All right, make some noise. Real Optimism. You can pre-order it now at your favorite local bookstore.
It's coming out with Simon & Schuster on March 10th.
It's a good day.
By the way, I'm excited, but I'm really scared too. This is very vulnerable.
Well, yeah.
Yeah, it's scary.
So what changed in the book?
So there's a lot of science in there. There's a lot of patient stories. And then now there's a lot of personal and memoir in here as well. Those are the things I think that got added. One of the things, so I'm this big believer, and I guess it's partly like we started with this, but I'm this big believer that you can get inspired, a tool, a lesson from the most, well, I would say random, but maybe they're not so random, moments and mundane moments or like whatever in your life if you're open to them. And they don't come in these moments of like, hopefully they come from something like this is intentional and you have sort of an aha. But oftentimes they come because you've heard maybe something like this in a setting, but then you're just like driving down a street and something strikes you, or you listen to music, or you watch something. And for me, something that actually changed everything for me was I was watching a very, very bad movie. And I'm really sorry if anyone in this room was involved in making the movie, but I will say the movie changed my life. So good. I hope not. I hope I'm not.
Megan too?
Yes, exactly. We were nearing like the last 2 treatments for my son. And I am not kidding. Like many of you probably can understand, the first treatment I made a calendar so that I could see the last treatment on the calendar. And that, of course, is a tool. This is temporary. This is temporary. This is temporary. One of the biggest tools for optimism. I needed to see that last one. The ironic thing is, as we approached the last 2, I got increasingly more and more anxious and I was struggling more. And I realized it's because the whole way through, I was doing something actionable. I was meeting with doctors. He was getting treatment. We were on it. We were doing something. And then as we approached sort of the end, it became very surreal and scary. Like now I had to sit with this idea of a whole lot of nothing. Because like I said, this is not like a disease where they can be like, if you reach the 2-year mark and you have no evidence of disease, then the stats, and I'm a stat person. And they were like, we have no stats for you. You just have to and this kid is now at that time 3, and he has his whole life ahead of him. And how am I going to manage myself and my anxiety and my fears and my projections for him to have a life that is without all that? And so I was actually dreading. I hated the chemo, but I was also dreading like nothing and just sort of going for, every 3 months checkups. And what about the in-between? What if I missed something? So I was watching this very, very silly movie. I don't even remember the name of it. I just don't want to say it because I feel really bad.
Come on.
It's called like...
Honora.
Don't judge me. I did see that on the plane, and I would not recommend watching that on a plane.
I saw that on the plane too. We're so alike.
I was like, at certain parts, I was like looking behind me, like, are people going to think I'm like...
I was just talking to Amina about it.
Oh, this is so crazy that there's a picture of me right there. I didn't know. Okay. Do not watch that movie on a plane. This movie, however, you can watch on a plane because it is actually a good plane movie. It's called A Family Affair.
A Family Affair? I didn't see that.
Okay. The premise, don't worry about it. It's it's Nicole Kidman and she dates Zac Efron. Okay. She dates her daughter's boss. Okay.
Oh, wait, I did see that.
Okay.
There was like 8 Nicole Kidman movies that came out in a row.
In the same time, exactly.
Yeah.
So at the sort of mid of this movie, and I forgot the actress, she's a beast and amazing. She's, is it Kathy Bates? No, it wasn't Kathy Bates. Whatever. She's an actress in the movie, and I should know who it is because I do write about her, and I thought it was Kathy Bates. I think I might be right. Anyway, she looks at Nicole. She's the mother-in-law, and her husband, Nicole's first husband, whatever, died. And this is the mother-in-law, the mother-in-law of the son, the mother of the son. And she is like still really good friends with Nicole and such a great mother figure. And Nicole Kidman is freaking out because her struggle right now is that she's dating this playboy and he's going to break her heart. My struggle is very different, as we know. But she looks at her and she says something to the effect, this is what I heard. I later found out this is not what the words were. She looks at her and says, kid, the future is none of your fucking business. That's literally how I heard it. That's not what it said. I think it was something like, kid, don't worry about the future or something.
Yeah.
She said, kid, the future's none of your fucking business. And I know it's such a small, silly, came at this movie, but it came at this time, and I think I was very open. And that has stuck through me now. It has been over a year and a half where we were paralyzed as a family for like 18 months. He did not go to school. I had to pull him out of everything because if he got sick in any shape, way, or form, we were back in the hospital. We were inpatient. Like, it's a whole thing. So he stayed home. We did nothing. We traveled nowhere. I mean, it sounds frivolous, but by the way, I will say this is not frivolous, and this is what I teach. I turned 40. We didn't celebrate it. We celebrated nothing because it just was not, I was not doing anything. I barely was eating and sleeping. I was just focused on survival mode. And so I thought, we're going to end this. I don't know what comes next because the future's none of my fucking business. But today, my kid does not have a port. He's in school. He's in preschool. He is thriving. He's so happy to be there.
Amazing.
Thriving today. When he gets a cold, we can just go to a pediatrician.
Yeah.
Like, don't take that stuff for granted. Like, we go to the pediatrician. We don't even have to go to the pediatrician, actually, when he has a cold. He plays all kinds of sports. He barely remembers what he calls cup medicine. He used to wear magic shoes to every cup medicine. He just talked about them the other day. He hasn't. They were Vans that were painted, like splatter painted, that this girl sent to me. And so I was like, we booked travel like that day. This movie literally changed my life.
I love it.
The future's none of your fucking business. And I study optimism, and I live in nostalgia. It's the whole thing, guys, because we're human.
It all
makes sense,
works
okay?
out.
I don't know. I don't know if it's going to. I don't know if it'll work out the way I want. But what I do know is that if and when, because shit will hit the fan again, I know that I have a partner that stepped the fuck up. And as a family, we already got through something that was really hard that I hid under my office table and said, I'll never be able to do this, which was wrong because I did it. We did it. Mm-hmm. And whatever comes up, I may not like, and it may wreck me. It may fucking shatter me because this did. It probably will, especially with all my feelings. But I know that we'll get through it. And there's something to be said about that, to truly believe it. And I never wanted what happened. I wish that wasn't how I learned the lesson, but I am grateful that I learned that lesson.
It's new muscle memory.
It is. It is new muscle memory.
Well, I'm happy that we're where we're at right now.
Yes, right now.
I want to remind everyone in the project, you can put your questions in, and we're going to get to some of those next.
FYI is an AI-powered messenger and productivity platform crafted for creatives and their teams. Focus your ideas with your collaborators using an encrypted messenger, develop your vision, utilizing media-rich project tools, and bring those ideas to life by sharing them with the world. With the AI personas in the FYI app serving as your creative co-pilots, you can ask FYI.AI to draft stories, song lyrics, product descriptions, marketing copy, or any written content and see the results within seconds. Download FYI today for free. Now available in the App Store and on Google Play.
I want to talk a little bit more about the science. I really love the hacks you have. Like, as you put one foot in front of the other, I love the story about the calendar. That, then there's a timeline, right? Instead of just drowning in fear and what ifs.
Oh, the worry?
Yes.
The worry time. This is one of my favorite things. It's very contrary, I think, to what I think that's one of my favorite things is just sometimes I like these tools that are contrary to what people might think I might be saying. I don't know why I like that, but I think I do. I truly believe that worrying is, again, part of the human existence. Worrying makes you human. And if you worry about something, it's because you actually care. I will never tell someone to stop worrying or that you can create some sort of life where you have no worries. Actually, what I say is you should be scheduling your worry into your daily calendar. So boundary it. Give it a space so that it is not, and in this day and age, in the world we live in, we can just all be completely paralyzed by worry 24/7. You have a thought you're worried about, something else comes up. You read something in the news, a friend calls you and says that they need an immigration lawyer. That comes up immediately. You're walking down the street, you see something that's awful. Whatever it is, it can be constant. What we know about the brain is if you are in constant chronic worry mode, the prefrontal cortex is not firing any form of solution or problem solving. And so I don't believe taking the worry away, but what I do believe that we can all do and train our brains to do is actually create a space and time for worrying. And so I literally have worry time scheduled in my calendar. So worry.
How much are you budgeting?
So when I started this, it was 5 times in the day.
Wow.
And now I'm down to 3. And they're short bursts. Before they were like 5 times for like 25 minutes each. And even that was tough. But like now I have 3 5-minute worry sessions. And my goal is to definitely get it down to 1. But it doesn't mean, and there's some things that come up that are immediate. So you ask yourself, like, do I need to immediately, like, oh my God, I'm just worried. I just learned I'm also a type B mom. I forgot to pack my kids' lunch. That's a common thing. So that's a worry that when you get that coming to you, got to deal with it immediately. Your kid needs to eat lunch or figure out something. But like, there's also, as a psychologist, there's something that's been circling around. It's called the weight of the world syndrome. And I think a lot of us have it. We worry about the whole world.
Yeah.
It's the weight of the whole world. And it's not even like a facetious thing. Like it's something that we weren't programmed as humans to experience because we were not ever in a time like we are now where we are exposed to all of it. And I'm not saying that's bad either. I also will not tell you to turn off the news. I just think that you should be mindful of when you are exposing yourself to it, because you might be the person that watches something, sees something that comes up with a solution to do something. And I am a huge believer in optimism goes hand in hand with activism. If you have to be equally as pissed off about something and think it is unfair, unjust, as you have to be hopeful and optimistic, and an idea has to come to your mind that something can be better. If you don't have those two things, then you're not making a difference. So you need to have space for that too. You can't just be angry. You have to believe that something better can happen, and then hopefully you're part of that solution.
What about as we're rounding out the end of the year?
Yeah.
What's the best way for people to be in an optimistic mindset? Is things slow down? We go into the holidays, or is there starting to forecast what they want their 2026 to be?
Ooh, I do not believe in resolutions. I believe the end of your year should be all about celebrating your wins from that year. We as humans, we are really prone to focusing on what didn't go well, what we could do better, what we want more of. And that's all good. That is something that we need to be doing. But we have to train ourselves also. And there's a ton of research in this and how being in this certain way and giving space to this actually increases our optimism and our hope and our resiliency and happiness, which then will increase your productivity and connection and all of that. But it is to take many moments to actually marinate in your successes. Your small wins, your big wins, your unique strengths, your sense of purpose. People talk about burnout a lot in the last few years, and I think it's such an important topic, but I think people are getting it all wrong because the research doesn't say that a vacation is, the way out of burnout, or you just need time off. Every point of research shows that a sense of purpose and knowing your sense of purpose is the antidote to burnout. You could burn the midnight oil just like the other person, but you will not burn out if you know your sense of purpose. You've taken the time to connect the dots and say, this is why I'm doing what I'm doing. And don't get me wrong, it doesn't mean that you have to do for what you do for work as what your passion is. That's amazing if you can, but not everyone has that privilege to do it. And if you do, oh my gosh, celebrate that. If what you get paid for is what you are passionate about, celebrate that. But oftentimes, that passion or sense of purpose, can come from things like a side hustle or a hobby. As long as you're putting that in, or you're connecting what you're doing is giving you the ability to do those things.
Yeah, there's a spark. You're not just going through the motions.
We all need the spark. We're human. A spark is not frivolous. It is not, when you feel that feeling of passion, and I'm not saying it has to be romantic or for another person. I mean, it's for what turns you on.
Yeah.
What turns you on? We all need to be turned on.
Austin has a really good question here. What tips do you have on regulating your nervous system through tough environments?
I love this question. I believe one of my favorite things to do is to help people come up with their own very unique toolbox. I truly believe everyone is unique and they have their own sort of tips and tricks and tools to calm and reset their nervous system. I can share what works for me. And I would definitely love for everyone to indulge in sort of what works for them. And one of the best ways you can do this, again, it sounds really simple, but life-changing. When you experience joy, whatever that is in your day, everyday life, some feeling in you comes up and it feels like joy. I want you to stop whatever it is you're doing and ask yourself, what am I doing? What am I doing right now that is bringing me joy? What does this joy feel like? What am I doing? To open up maybe there's a function.
You can have a joy
FYI.
project, an FYI. You could talk to the persona. You could pin in little joy conversation.
Well, I use my notes, but I'm thinking maybe there's something on yours.
There's about 5 things in FYI we could do to support this.
Okay, good. So I call it the joy list. I use the notes section on my phone and I quickly jot down whatever it is I was doing. So after some time, I might have 50 things on my list. And it's not because I am trying to remind myself in any given time when I'm feeling joyful, what else brings me joy. It's for the times that you're feeling out of control and you're in uncertainty and you're in a struggling place. You won't remember what those are. But if it's in your notes section and you just look at it and you skim it and you're like, what can I do right now? One of these are going to pop out at you. Your intuition is going to choose one of them, or make it a game and close your eyes and just go like this and do one of those things. There is no time wasted in doing a joyful act. And a lot of these things, when you're feeling the joy, can be something that you can do in any given moment. And I think we need to do more of that and give ourselves permission to. But for me, what resets my nervous system is, and I've said it before, but music to me is my biggest tool. And for a long time, I think I felt weird saying that and uncomfortable because I don't make music. I'm just and film, I love both mediums, but music to me can change any mood that I'm in less than 3 seconds. The opening note of any song can take me so many places. And I'm definitely one of those people that gets, goosebumps. And I'm sure many of you, because you're in a creative field, there is science behind, some people are more genetically prone to have sensitivity and to feel. And I'm definitely one of those people. I wish I could actually make the music too, but I am a connoisseur of it and it literally is my tool. And so I did something that sounds silly, but it's called Wake Up and Dance. And the first thing I do in the morning is I put on music, whatever it is I feel like listening to. And it is a wide variety. I can dance to Nirvana too. My body can move to Kurt. My body does really move to Kurt, actually. And I just dance. And sometimes I get 20 seconds out of it, and then I have to go do all the morning stuff. Sometimes I get a full song, whatever it is. But whatever that is, I can do it from anywhere, traveling without anything, as long as I have access to music. That's something that regulates my nervous system in a second. Also, I've learned that and maybe it's because I live in a house with 3 very small children, but something that regulates my nervous system is silence sometimes. Even if it's for 2 seconds, 3 seconds, I need to just sit in my car, shut the door, go in my closet, or pretend like I'm going to the bathroom. That's a big one. And just nature, being outside. And I don't mean going on a hike, because I don't hike. I wish I did. But even just getting out, sometimes I've been driving and I feel out of control and I will pull over in a safe space and I will just get out of a car and I just look up at the sky. And that's okay. That works for me. Breathing. I'm a big proponent of breath work. One of my favorites is called the 4-7-8 breath. And there's a lot of science behind that. It's like a reset for your whole nervous system. So I would love if anyone adopted that, but it's breathing in for 4, holding your breath for 7, and then breathing out for 8. And it is scientifically proven to reset your nervous system. One other thing that I do that, as you can tell, I like very simple, practical things. I do this with my patients all the time, and I did this with my patients when I was at the hospital, and I do it now, but it's the adult version of I Spy. Do you guys remember playing I Spy as kids?
I mean, welcome to my life.
I feel like kids don't do that anymore at all.
Oh, no, we do.
Okay, good. I'm so glad to hear that. They use their attention in different ways now, but your brain has a limited attentional capacity. We think that we can just like think about everything all the time, but actually there's a limited attentional capacity. So if you are in a loop, which oftentimes we are, and you're spiraling or you're in a place where you are ruminating or you're just in an emotion that it just feels like you're stuck, what you can do is just look around the room you're in, take a deep breath, and name out loud, set your timer for 30 seconds on your phone or whatever. Hopefully we will get to a point sometime where we can do this without phones, but I don't know. And go around the room and just out loud say the things you see. Try really hard not to tell a story. You'll see your brain try to do that, but like, I see a green tree. I see a martini puffer. Oh my God, that's such a cool jacket. That would have been great last night. I'm telling a story now. And then stop yourself and just say, okay, I'm seeing it. By the way, that is a very cool jacket.
Thanks.
You go around, you just say the things you see. And the reason, it sounds so simple, but your brain is actually utilizing enough attentional capacity to visually recognize something and then out loud verbalize it, that it actually acts like a nervous system reset. And then you can go back to worrying about what you were worrying about, but it's taken on a different version now. You have reduced the potency.
I love all these tips and tricks, and I'm so excited to see the new book. Coming up in just a few minutes, we're going to check in with different people in the community and see some of their projects and celebrating the spoons moving to the Netherlands. But before we go, you were talking about your worry break. I'm going to do one more question, and then I'll let you answer the rest in the discussion in the project. When you were talking about your worry break, Ranil wants to say, what he wanted to know, what exactly is he supposed to be doing during the worry break? Is he journaling? Is he, how long should we schedule it? Is it just time to think? Like, what's the assignment?
So first of all, like when things start swirling the minute you wake up, and obviously you're flooded with like worries or a to-do list. By the way, another thing that's great is before you go to bed, do not make a to-do list. Make a to-do list. Like make a list of everything that you have accomplished that day. And go to sleep with that. Yeah. Go to sleep with that. I'm telling you, it will change your life.
I love a to-do list, so I'm going to try a to-do list.
Yes, a to-do list. Don't do a to-do list before you go to sleep. You are not setting yourself up.
I always do. Okay, got it.
So when you wake up and you start thinking about all the things and the things that you're anxious about or worrying about, you just ask yourself a simple question. Do I need to deal with this now or can I deal with it later? That's the first step. Now, then just deal with it, obviously. Oh yeah, later. Okay, then I'm going to schedule this for my work. You can write it down. You can compartmentalize it in your mind if it's not a lot, but obviously it's probably a lot. So you should write it down somewhere. And I love a journal. I love just putting it to paper already, the worry's gone.
Yeah.
Sometimes it's just like, great, I have it there on paper. I'm going to revisit it during my time. That time is for you to revisit and either take action or contemplate. So sometimes it's just contemplating. Like, I'm so worried about my sister's husband. I made that up. I'm not worried about my sister's husband. But anyway, you can contemplate and leave that time for, this is when I'm going to think about this. And when you sort of boundary it, sometimes it helps you come up with solutions. Or it can actually be an action time where you're like, I'm worried about this one meeting that I have to schedule, and I don't know when to schedule it. So, but it's not immediate. But like if it's in my worry time, then I can be like, oh, let me look at this. Let me make sure I do this. I was so worried I was going to forget it or whatever it is. And so the reason for that is if you are constantly worried throughout your day and you're just being stimulated all the time and oncoming worries all the time into your brain, how can you ever go through and complete the actual tasks that you need to complete in your normal day? You cannot. It is not possible. We are derailed. We are paralyzed. And so again, like fitting it in. And obviously this is not 100% black and white. You're going to get to a point where you are not worried at all during any part of the day except for worry time, but it will probably reduce the majority of your paralysis throughout the day. And like being flooded, like I know for me, I feel like my brain mimics my phone, which if you looked at my phone, that is, I have 220 something thousand unread emails. And I have like 50 open. Like I will start something because I need to get it done or I have a worry about it, and I open it to start to do it on my computer or my phone, and then something else comes up. So then I start that, and then before I know it, I have like 50 different pages open. None of them are complete, and now I don't even know what I'm doing. And that's because we are given too much choice right now, and there's too much stimulation coming in. So we have to find ways to compartmentalize.
Well, I'm so thankful that you came today, and I appreciate you being vulnerable and sharing the story about what your family went through. And I love that it illuminated even new paths to optimism and resilience. And I don't even know what I don't know about who in this room needed to hear something from that today. I'm seeing a lot of shaking heads, but I'll tell you all, you may have heard me tell a story before. I'm going to tell the short version of it. That once I was hosting a podcast live out in the wild, and somebody asked a question, and then I met the person after that asked the question, and then they stayed connected to me. And on my first day of FYI, they were throwing a party, and I was like, I can't go. It's my first day at a new job. But they came and visited me here, and then they met Will, and then Will ended up going to the person's party. And then at the party, met someone that got him into Harvard. And now we're teaching this class here. And it all started because it was the podcast with Deepika. So that's the other part of the story. So I just know that even though we had a lot of hard conversations, maybe it's the optimist in me, but I think that there's real magic in today. And again, I'm so thankful for where we are now. Wishing you and your family the most health and happiness through the holidays. And I can't wait to put March 10th on the calendar so we can all get your new book on our doorstep.
Please do. It is probably the single most important thing I'm learning now, because I was not an author before, but I'm an author now. Writing a book is amazing, but a very large challenge and a big undertaking. But selling the book and putting it out in the world is so much harder. So every pre-order, I didn't know this whole thing about pre-orders, but there's a whole thing about pre-orders. It's a thing. Is really, really meaningful and significant. And so if any of it spoke to you or you're intrigued and you pre-order the book, I love you. And if you tell one other person to pre-order the book, I love you even more.
I pre-ordered one for me and one for the FYI library. So nice. Hallie, there we go. All right, make some noise for Dr. Deepika Chopra.
Thank you guys for having me, truly. Thank you.
Thanks for listening to the Culture FYI'RS Podcast. Make sure to download the FYI app, available now in the App Store and Google Play. Check out this episode's notes for a project link to this Culture FYI'RS event, including a look at more projects from the FYI community. This episode's Culture FYI'RS event was produced by FYI co-founder will.i.am, Amina Mohammed, Emily Choi, Frankie Sandoval, Jafet Chavez, Julie Pilat, Marcus Nielsen Calling, Ronial Madlani, Sean Kantrowitz, Shania Jafari, the FYI product team, and of course the FYI community. The podcast is edited by Rob Van Vranken. Make sure to subscribe to Culture FYI'RS wherever you get your podcasts, so that you never miss an episode. Learn more about FYI by visiting FYI.FYI.